Alright, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back everybody to our next challenge run for Final Fantasy V, in this case. Single character solo job. So, there is still the straw poll going on for you guys to vote which character is going to be. For reference, the way I'm going to do this is pretty much how one of the more popular sites from sola.com has handled this. I'm just going to be playing up through the Wind Shrine with a solo character, and I need to start timer. And I will then switch to the chosen job. I may have to go ahead and briefly input some Gate Genie codes in order to unlock certain jobs because they might not be available by default. But you still can vote on which job we're going to have. As soon as we hit the Wind Shrine's crystal, that voting will be done for now. Have I ever played Mystic Arc before? Actually, I have, yes. And it's one of those games that I would like to replay sometime. That game was really interesting. Like, interesting in a really interesting, like, good way. Because it's just kind of relatively far off from the norm, what you normally have in RPGs and such. So, for the straw poll, by the way, anybody who notices it, there is no thief currently, there is no bard, and I think I also didn't put a dancer in, just so it wouldn't be one of the more insanely difficult challenges from the get-go. I already did, however, play the White Mage solo character challenge. I consider that to be the first one of this series. So if you'd like to see a solo character White Mage challenge, we already did that. And now we're going to be going ahead and choose a different one. What that's going to be, you can still vote on. And also, I will let you guys decide as to which character I should be running with. Generally speaking, I consider this to be mostly a thing between either Butts, which is present in literally all the battles, or Ferris, who is missing in just one single battle. Against bosses anyways, and bosses are kind of the biggest deal about Final Fantasy V, so Varys I still see like she should be able to be picked. On the other hand, Lena is missing for a large chunk of the game, so is Galuf, so I'm not going to let you pick those. So would you like to have Butts or Ferris? They experimented a lot in Mystic Arc, you liked it? Yeah. Some of those story pieces and just kind of settings were really fascinating. In Mystic Arc, it actually reminded me a lot of the book I read, or the book series. I forget what they are called in English anyways. But essentially it was set in Africa in the near-ish future, where everybody has access to basically plug themselves into a virtual world, and then they get trapped in it, in a sense. Sounds like a really simple, generic plot, but it's really well written. Forget what they were called, though. It was a really good series. Either way, one of the universes they ended up crossing through was... essentially, the world was a gigantic house. People that already lived in that house had no idea that there was supposed to be an outside to a house. You basically just roamed through various rooms, from room to room, through a corridor, upstairs and down the stairs, etc. And that's just kind of how the world was for them. That was just normal. Their entire world consisted of being a house, and it just scavenged materials from the various rooms and such. Also, we have a very strong notion that we should be picking Ferris rather than Butts. Alright. Usually Ferris is my favorite character as well, so that fits well for me. Alrighty. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead, set battle speed to 5. I set speed to fast. We have memory cursors and a little bit of purple. Speaking of purple, because we're going to be picking fairies, I also prepared another thing that I didn't adjust yet. Where is it? There we go. Did not adjust this yet, but I have this thing. It's a bit more purple now. Hooray! So this indicates that we have fairies as our main character. And we're just going to go. So for anybody who does not know Final Fantasy V, I can explain a lot of things. This is the Final Fantasy I'm pretty much most familiar with compared to any other. The version I'm playing is the Super Nintendo version, or more specifically, Super Famicom version, that has a English fan translation. This is not an official translation. And that is currently what I'm playing. Eris is the main character. I mean, yeah, she's one of the three. So either way, compared to Final Fantasy VI, it does look a bit more simple, let's put it that way. It does also have quite a few changes to it, such as you might have seen, oh, those text boxes scrolled by real fast. The mechanics are, I like to call it, a lot more cutthroat compared to Final Fantasy VI. By the way, how loud is the thing? So we have butts. Instead of butts, we have... Who do we choose for this, guys? Who would choose to name? Let's actually just go with the standard name for now, because I didn't really think about this. I should have thought about it and asked about it beforehand. So yeah, music is really nice in this game, it's definitely comparable. You can see that in Final Fantasy VI they just got so much more out of the graphics and details and sprites. It's crazy, it looks amazing. The story is simple. It's fine, nothing bad about it. It's just not nearly as huge as it is in Final Fantasy VI, I dare to say. However, this is actually my favorite Final Fantasy currently. The reason is, quite simply, because I like the boss battles more in this game. The general mechanics, battle mechanics, and actually I would say even difficulty, is what I prefer over Final Fantasy VI. In Final Fantasy VI, it feels like once you get into level 55, 60, you just demolish almost everything without too much trouble, without having particularly much thought to your equipment. Which is probably not entirely accurate for everything anyways, but you get the idea. It's just, I think I recently figured out why I think I like Final Fantasy V a lot more than 6 in terms of boss battles, is because there is just a huge number of them, for one, but also status effects are incredibly impactful in this game. And there's often so many different ways to approach a boss fight, or just kind of even an area or a challenge or something, that it just makes it more interesting to me to just work my way around the limited resources that I have in various challenge runs. And that does include single character solo runs. So here we are. Also, one thing I forgot to do. You'll probably not even notice it, but that's okay. There we go. I did the thing. More options, more viable tools, more strategies. Generally speaking, yes. Also, the thing is, this entire game is pretty much laid out around its job system. The way the job system works is once you reach certain key points of the game, you unlock a new set of jobs. What that means is after about a quarter of the game, I think is probably fair to call it, after about a quarter of the game you have all the jobs unlocked. And you can switch and swap between, mix and match between the jobs however you want in this game. There's a lot of jobs and it actually is quite intimidating if you have immediately the choice between all of them. Like, you will inevitably neglect some of the jobs and not really figure out their potential or the strengths or weaknesses. You will just probably choose whatever works, and there's absolutely no cost to just switching between the jobs. And once you master certain classes, or if you master enough classes, you will have incredibly strong bonuses to your freelancer class or the bear job class, which makes you insanely powerful. However, that's kind of why I like the challenge runs of these games, because I can't take advantage of the freelancer class in this case. So that makes it a lot more tricky to work around things, often anyways. There is quite a few things that Final Fantasy VI did improve over 5, namely a few quality of life things, such as you don't really see how much MP a character has, or the menus, or the UI overall, let's put it this way, is just a bit more barren, less useful. It's not bad. But the Game Boy Advance version improved on that quite a bit. Game Boy Advance is also actually an official English translation, if you'd like to play that, and I can recommend it. Final Fantasy Advance version is probably the best one if you can have access to it. You remember laughing the Mystic Knights due to their concept alone, you recall Swordsman mages. Yes. That's actually pretty much my favorite type of class in any game ever, which is the idea of battle mages. So, we get attacked from the back, which kind of like Final Fantasy VI. Your back and front row are swapped. So back and front row, you take 50% less damage from if you are in the back row compared to the front row. But you also deal 50% less damage physically. Long range attacks and magic attacks still ignore row entirely, which most of the time is really only a thing that you have as a player character, and nothing the enemies have per se. Usually, unless they have spells, then all bets are off. One thing that I always kind of think is really unfortunate in the case of battle mages, in many games anyways, or in many depiction of the games, all the battle mages do is they have a bit of melee power ability and a little bit of mage ability, but it's exactly the same as the pure mage classes or the pure melee classes have, and they don't really get anything special from themselves, which is really unfortunate in my opinion. Because there's so much more you can do, and Mystic Knight just kind of takes part in that idea for me, where Mystic Knights enchant their swords, or weapons for that matter, and they are then subsequently able to use certain elements or even status effects on their weapons and attack enemies with them. So that's just kind of what I'm really fascinated by as a concept. The Red Mage is pretty much what you mostly see in games, where it's just, oh, Red Mages can equip swords and heavier armor, and they have a bit of magic as well. Mind you, Red Mages are kind of decent in this game, but because they can have access to various ranges of status effects thanks to being able to use various weapons, but also magic from both white and black. But they just don't have anything else going for them that is unique to them. Are Mystic Knights broken with the status blades? Yes. Pretty much. Like, broken in the sense they are insanely strong. Nothing that is buggy for that matter. But yeah, Mystic Knights are insanely strong. Imbuing magic onto your weapon was always awesome. You saw dual tech in Chrono Trigger as an extension of that. Yeah, I like that idea. For me, the idea of a battle mage was usually that you would maybe wield the weapon in one hand, but then just kind of improve your melee or combat abilities through the use of a little bit of magic just on the side. Like, I don't know, use a fire blast from your left hand in order to propel you quicker to the right side in order to dodge or flank an enemy more quickly. Or just kind of having the ability to levitate and not having to worry about standing on certain ground. Stuff like that, or getting knocked prone for that reason. You know, stuff that would just kind of be unique to a fighter class that can also use mage abilities. Your idea of a battle mage is a Jedi Knight. I don't really know much about Jedi Knights, to be completely honest with you, but I think that kind of seems to fit the bill of what I'm thinking of as a battle mage. I do know a little bit. I've played the PC version of Jedi Knight Academy. I never finished it, but I like playing it for a while. Hey Darkslash, welcome. Which job are we doing? Well, this is to be determined. You still have time to vote as to which job you would like to see until we get to the Wind Shrine and get the first crystal. That is when we are going to switch over to the job. They do have some of the force tricks where they can push and pull people. Yes, I actually like that. By the way, I initially... So, once again, to reiterate real quick, I left out Thief and Bard and also Dancer because I would like to have a bit of more casual and relaxed run through Final Fantasy 5 at this point. Just kind of to not go too insane with the difficulty. I was contemplating leaving Geomancer out as well, just because Geomancer is one of the more tough and tricky or oddball classes to get through the game. But I figured I'm going to leave it in, just because you do have a reasonably easy time to grind in various areas, if you get there. So, either way, we now have Ferris in our party, and as people have voted already now, Ferris is going to be our main hero to deal with enemies. So what am I going to do is I will kill off all the other characters, and they are going to be staying dead and not do anything. There is no requirement per se to leave the characters at level 1, but just as a flavor I like doing that usually. However, I might consider leveling up one character just so we have an easier time with an Antlion, but it's just the one boss that we need to deal with without having Ferris in our party. But that's for way later. Xcodes, thank you! Thank you very much for 18 rounds in a row support. Welcome back to you. Well, I'm glad you enjoy your stay. Thank you so much. Also, the one thing I learned is that you can actually buy potions here. Not buy, you can get potions here. By talking with one of those dudes, if I'm not mistaken. There, 5 potions. Potions only heal 50, which is not a whole lot, but initially we don't have that much HP anyway, so it's fine. What made you decide to choose Ferris? Essentially, there is either Butts or Ferris, just purely because those are present in the most battles. So that's kind of why I'm choosing one or the other. Oh, Lena didn't die. That's awkward. That's alright. Yeah, that's kind of why I'm choosing either Butts or Ferris. And I asked people, hey, which one would you like to see? Ferris or Lena? Ferris or Butts? And I didn't see a single person saying they would like to see Butts, but I saw a lot of people wanting to see Ferris. So here we are with Ferris. By the way, if I miss anything in chat, I'm kind of not so great at reading things, but feel free to repeat stuff if I miss it. Here's a tent. Tent heals fallen characters, which is not the greatest, considering that we would like to have them stay fallen for now. And hey, Hopez, welcome. I hope you're doing well. Oh, I just walked backwards. Derp. Last you saw this was Yoga's solo white mage challenge. Well, this is going to be another solo character solo challenge, and yes, we already did the white mage one. It's highlighted, which again, solo white mage is the one that I consider to be the first one of our challenges. So if you'd like to see that one, there is highlights of that. But which chop we're going to be choosing is still to be determined for this one right here. These are save points, where we can also use tent if we wanted to. And, oh yeah, I did beat Final Fantasy VI, in case you're wondering about that. Here's a leather helmet. A leather helmet or leather equipment is not particularly good defensive-wise, but +1 defense is actually surprisingly solid in these early stages of the game. So I like getting that. Plus, I will probably want to have a bunch of money depending on which character we choose, because as much as I like doing the Final Fantasy V solo character challenge runs, the very first boss, actually, I don't consider this thing to be even a boss here. This guy here is not much of a boss. The very first boss that is actually having any significant mechanics is going to be coming up Carl Boss, and Carl Boss is really rough to deal with if you have just a solo character, just due to his nature. You will see we will die to him pretty much almost no matter which class we pick. There are certain classes that have a clear advantage, but most classes would have a pretty high chance of straight up dying to him. Okay, we heal up. We also get a broadsword, but the dagger that Ferris comes with is actually better than the broadsword right now. The main character is Moth Butts. I mean, yes, that's kind of what I named Butts for now. Breathwing costs you 25% of your maximum health and damage, I think. That's right. You have 92 HP total. Either way, Wing Raptor is your first introduction to bosses and them changing forms of mechanics, which, oddly enough, this is the only boss in the entire game that literally changes how he looks in the middle of the battle. It's kind of strange to think about it, but that's kind of how it is. And we beat him. We always get a Phoenix down. By the way, Phoenix downs in this game are really expensive. Thankfully, we pretty much don't need any of them, unless we want to use them to level. In that case, we will need a bunch. Stuff. Stuff doesn't do a whole lot for us. It's just a random item that I can sell. Entangle is pretty bad because how Paralyze works is based on your level, you will be stunned for a certain amount of time. On top of that, which is basically about 1.5 turns how long I'm stunned. On top of that, I lose another turn because I need to recharge the ATB from the scratch. So getting paralyzed is really bad, and that's kind of what the next boss can do. Alrighty, last chance for you guys to vote on which solo character challenge job we choose. As soon as we get the last crystal, we will go with that, and then I need to update my layout real quick, unless you choose night, because I already have a picture of a knight. The plan for class selection is you choose via voting. One thing I just noticed that I want to fix real quick, because it bothers me. This here. I think this should update it. Oh, hang on. There we go. Updated it. Frogs are friends, not food. Come on, guys. Alrighty, crystals have been acquired. I will close the vote in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. And the class that won is the Dragoon. Alrighty, we're going to be running a Dragoon for our challenge run number 2. Which means I actually will need to save real quick. And then input some cheat codes to unlock the Dragoon, because he's not normally available from the Wind Crystal. Wind Crystal jobs are Monk, Blue Mage, White Mage, Black Mage, Knight, and Thief. Pretty much Final Fantasy 1 job classes. And we will be using Ferris, because people voted for Ferris pretty much in chat. Alrighty. Nope, I don't want an explanation, thank you very much. I'm going to be saving real quick. I don't know whether I need to restart a thing or whether it will just work like this. But next time I should have the thing prepared beforehand. Hopefully. Either way. We save real quick. Then I need to input some cheat codes in order to unlock all the jobs. Once again, the jobs are just not in there yet. And this didn't work. How do I do this? That's a good question. Cookie Punch! Cookie Punch, thank you so much for 38 ROMs in a row support. Welcome back to you. Well, Glad you enjoy your stay. Thank you so much. That's really nice of you. So, alright, I need to figure out how this works. How can I use action replay or game shark codes? I think those are game shark codes. So this should be... Other than that, I would have to figure out how to do this. That's mildly awkward. Oh, I think that was for the Game Boy Advance. I need for the SNES. There we go. Now we go. Now we're here. Here we go. That's why I was wrong. Hero FF. Right, let's see whether this worked or not. There we go. We have all the jobs now. Well, that took a while, but next time I will have it easier and quicker for that matter. So, you guys chose Dragoon. Dragoon is very interesting because it's definitely going to be one of the easier job classes as a whole. So, Dragoon as a job by itself is actually really strong. Ironically, Dragoon as a job class for you to play in your party when you just play through this game casually is actually not the greatest. The reason is Dragoon is a very, very strong character just by itself, just kind of as a whole character. However, it doesn't really mix and match too well with other characters because its abilities are strong, but also very contained. Like, it doesn't have much synergy with other characters at all. So first of all, we go into the House of Beginners and pick up a tent, a Phoenix Stone, a potion, an ether, and a honey gill. And we don't need anything else. Basically just starting money. We will never need an ether, so we can just sell it for money. Because we do have no magic to use. We can also not use stays, so we can just sell them. We already have a leather hat, we can sell the other one. I'm not going to use swords initially. Daggers are strictly better, and I will explain in just a moment as to why. And do we have a shield already? Actually, don't remember. Let's just buy a shield. Dragoon is a loner like in Final Fantasy IV, I guess. I don't know Final Fantasy IV too well, for that matter, but Dragoon has a few interesting abilities that will do a bunch of things. Also, by the way, you cannot even use swords if you wanted to, I just realized. As a Dragoon, you can use daggers and spears. That's it. That's all the weapons you get. Your abilities are limited to jump. And that's it. Once you gain a bit of experience in the job as a Dragoon, you will end up having an ability called called Dragoon, I think it's called in this translation. Essentially, it is just absorbing a bit of MP and a bit of HP from the enemies. It's not a whole lot, because especially the Dragoon does not have a particularly high magic stat value, so it's not the greatest. But hey, who knows, it could come in handy sometime. Either way, the nice thing about Final Fantasy V is how very extreme it is, whether you have heavy or light armor. It doesn't make as much of a difference in Final Fantasy VI, in terms of how extreme it is anyways, whether you have heavy or light armor, or just kind of defensive, how much damage you take purposes. However, it makes a huge difference in this game here once you get to buy the heavier armor. Which right now, all we have at our disposal is leather, and that's it. Alrighty, so let me explain real quick as to why it's kind of a big deal to have to be able to defeat the boss upcoming that is called Carl Boss. So Carl Boss, as I consider him to be the first real boss since the birthing in the tower, was not really much to speak of. He has actually only really 2 abilities, which is a problem because he will choose those 2 abilities because he has so few very frequently. So, one of his abilities is to stun or paralyze a character and deal a bit of damage to them. Which is already a problem, as you might be able to tell. He could just chain that alone and eventually kill you, because you don't recover quick enough. However, then on top of that, he has also an ability called Tail Screw. Tail Screw, if it hits, will set your character's HP to critical, as in 10 HP or 9 HP or less. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 HP, which means if you get paralyzed and tail screwed, and then he just hits you, you're dead, no matter how much HP you had before. So that's kind of the big difficulty about it. However, it's also kind of pretty well known what kind of... Also, I need to stop Jagabot from asking which topic you would like to have next. Where are we going? It's kind of a high chance for Carl Boss to hit you with Tail Screw, by the way, because the only resistance that you have against not getting hit by Tail Screw with any form of equipment is your level. Abilities that do not automatically hit, but rather have a chance to hit, they will take your level and the enemy's level into account and essentially just subtract the percentage value based on those from whatever. Also, we're just going to invest all our money into potions because we don't really have anything else to spend on the money for now. So yeah, Carl Boss will be essentially a gigantic RNG fiesta, as I like to call it. But it will take a while until we get through there. Good evening to you, Arkarker. Welcome, I hope you're doing well. So, we do have a leather shield as a Dragoon, or a shield I guess. The leather shield is the weakest one of the bunch, as you might be able to imagine. However, it blocks 10% of the physical attacks that come flying towards us. So, it's at least a small chance of blocking a physical attack. The hit that deals damage and physically attacks you is blockable, so if we get lucky we can still block that. However, my next order of operation will be checking various stats real quick and determine what goal level we want to get to, since we kind of want to minimize the amount of time we spend in the battle against Carl Boss. So that is going to be the first order of operation, and that's going to be pretty much for every single character that we go with, except for maybe the samurai, who can just throw money at the problem and it's gone. And maybe a black mage, who can also just throw lightning at the problem and it might be gone too, rather quickly. So, and maybe now also for the reason as to why daggers are so much better than swords. I even forgot that you couldn't even use swords because I didn't even want to. The dagger is better than the sword because, in this case anyways, the dagger is actually having the exact same attack power as a broadsword. And on top of that, daggers and a few other weapons, mostly daggers however, do have a bit of a strange property where they will add +1 to your attack multiplier based on your agility and level. The thing is, you can lose that multiplier by leveling up or gaining more agility. It's kind of a weird thing and usually considered a bug and how it works. The way the stats works in this game is the only thing that changes on level up is your level number. That's literally it. Everything else is determined by the chop you have. So your HP will increase through the level, of course, but your HP is essentially, also your MP for that matter, is a function of your vitality and your level. So you can clearly determine how much HP I will have at level 6 based on knowing that I have 41 vitality. The thing is, even if you have items that increase your vitality, your HP will not increase. It's essentially just the base value of vitality for that. So levels really don't give you a whole lot. Except for, and that's the big deal, the way you gain damage in this game is you don't gain a little bit of more damage or physical damage for that matter, or magical, each level. The way you gain damage is by reaching certain thresholds, which are determined based on your strength and level, or for magic based on your strength and magic power. So, we currently have 45 strength on a Dragoon, so I will be running with 45, and, oh wait, yeah, 45 strength, and we also have 32 agility, which will be relevant a little bit later. So, with 45 strength, my next best modifier is actually at level 6. And then the next modifier would be at level 9. So I think my goal will be to level up to level 9, where I get a multiplier of level 3. Which, actually, is not all that good. Because of the weirdness of the agility, at level 7, I have the +1 from the agility multiplier, which means I actually deal the exact same damage at level 6 that I do at level 11, just because the dagger just is a monkey like that. So my best bet is actually level 12 if I wanted to get both the dagger multiplier and also the strength multiplier, because I get 4 from strength and 1 from the dagger at that point. In all the previous levels, from 6 to 10, 6 to 11 actually, I gain +1 from the agility, or I just get +3 from strength. So essentially, ironically, until I'm level 12, my damage output will not change. Yeah, don't worry about the numbers too much. Essentially, I have determined now that level 12 is the goal level if I want to level up at all. Other than that, I will be leveling purely for gaining a little bit of HP. And that's it. HP is useful, so the physical attacks, in case you get lucky and don't get any tails through attacks from Carl Boss, will not pile up to be too much. But that's about it. So what I should have done, by the way, I should have bought some broadswords and daggers in order to have my allies kill themselves off quicker, because Gallop right now doesn't have anything to hit himself harder with. So, the reason why I go to the Wind Shrine, even though I think it actually is slightly less experience than it is in the next area, is because the Mold Wind enemies, which are the Wind Snake that I just killed earlier, Those guys can drop elixirs. By the way, jumping as a Dragoon doesn't really do anything different aside from just literally attacking. Unless you have spears, and if you have a spear to jump with, your attack output doubles. So later on, jumping will just kind of be my standard way of operation. Ooh, fire. That's 51 damage, that's a lot. I kill everything with one hit, but at the same time I only have single attacks. So level 6 fairies will deal a little bit more damage, as you might be able to tell, but until level 12 you will not see a change in damage output anymore. Which means right now I'm leveling just for levels unless I really want to go to level 12. I'm not sure whether I want to go there. One nice thing about jump is that it does the same damage from the back row as it does from the front row, so there's a little bit of a benefit to jumping rather than using an attack. Not much, but it's something. Also, if I know the enemy scripts well enough, I can potentially just jump over their dangerous moves. That is a possibility too. You don't actually gain any strength or any stats at all through leveling in this game at all. The only strength or the only stat changes are when you equip certain items. Which you might think +1 strength is not a big deal, but it can potentially mean that you have to have one less level. Oh, there's an elixir. Nice, that's actually what I'm after. It can potentially mean that you need one less level in order to reach the next level. Reach the next attack multiplier. So right now, I would like to kill the snake in the back because it can potentially use a paralyzing attack. Which is why I'm jumping on it. I'm not really in much in danger of dying, unless the goblin is the same level as I am. So the goblin actually has a move called Goblin Punch. What that does to you is it deals just your attack power and damage. The benefit is it never misses and it does the same damage from the back row. So it's kinda neat on that. But the huge thing about Goblin Punch is it actually deals 8 times damage if you... Oh, that's bad. Are the same level as the goblin. And let me tell you, apparently goblins are level 7. So this is actually really spooky right now. So I probably should prioritize killing goblins. By the way, I usually kill the Moldwinds first because if they get their second attack, they have a high chance of using wind spells. More specifically, a wind level 1 spell. Which is Arrow, I think. Just Arrow. And while it's not going to one-shot fairies, it still will deal a lot of damage and eat through the potion resources that I have. Does Regen heal you while jumping? No, not in this game. Oh my goodness. In this game it does not heal you while jumping. It will just stop all regen. It does in Final Fantasy 6 as I learned, which is actually making it pretty strong. I really like regen in Final Fantasy games. Unfortunately, it's not the greatest in Final Fantasy 5, mainly due to how limited you are on how or which classes can use it. It is still pretty decently strong, mind you. Also, I should kill the goblin first. But just because the only sources of regen are you cast it as a bard, which is probably the most viable way of getting regen. because you can just use a song to apply it to all or your entire party, or you use it, I think, as a time mage who has the reach and spell as a single target, which is not really that great. And yes, the one item that gives you region as a status effect is the Protect Ring. I really like the Protect Ring, but in Final Fantasy V you only have one accessory slot. And that one will be occupied by the sprint shoes by the time you would be able to use the Protect Ring. Because sprint shoes, or more specifically haste and slow status effects in this game, are insane. Like, imagine you just fight an enemy. You're approximately about as fast as the enemy in terms of how many turns you get and how many turns the enemy gets. And suddenly, you get slowed. The enemy will move 3 to 4 times before you get one move, despite you being about the same speed before. And haste kind of works the same way, but the other way around, you get about 3 times as many moves as the enemy does in that case. Pretty crazy. So right now, what I'm actually looking for is a second elixir drop. Once I have a second elixir, I will likely just try my luck on Carl boss. Unless the second elixir is late enough that it will... Unless the second elixir drop is late enough that it will just... be closer to go to level 12 at that point. Which, it might be the most sensible way, thing to do to go to level 12 anyways. The main reason, by the way, why I'm jumping right now is because I got back attacked. I'm in the back row, so my physical attacks will deal half damage. Jump ignores that, conveniently enough. Which I might be able to actually one-shot the white snake with a physical right now. I haven't actually tried it. I don't remember how much HP they have. So... Also, by the way, you see level 0, 10 out of 50 Dragoon on Ferris here. That is how many ability points we have gained so far. Once we reach 50, we gain Dragoon level 1, and that unlocks the first Dragoon ability, which, I have to admit, I don't know what that is. So those guys here are actually going to be rather scary if they get their second turn. But, with a bit of clever knowledge about these guys, I know I can jump now, they get their second turn, and then the third turn is going to be normal again, because that's just when they repeat their AI script. Again, they would use a wind spell, or at least 2 out of 3 times they use their wind spell on the second turn. So it would be rather spooky if I get hit by 70 damage or so. One thing I just noticed is I like to have short window command, which allows my command in the bottom left to be I press up for fight, left for the main ability, right for the secondary ability, and down for items. It's way more convenient for me. Level 1 is jump, level 2 is lance, and level 3 is equip lances. I see, that's nice. So, in the first few encounters, it actually doesn't matter which enemies you fight as much as it matters what formation you fight. Like the combination of enemies is the formation. And that determines how much ability point you get per fight. In the first few areas, you generally get 1 at most. There's a few exceptions where you get maybe 2, 3 sometimes even. So yeah, there's that. What would be nice is if I could get level 2 Dragoon ability before Carl boss. Because the Dragoon level 2 ability is the ability to absorb HP and also MP from the enemy. MP it doesn't matter. His abilities don't cost him any magic. But what can matter, also by the way, we are now level 9, which means I don't need to worry about goblins anymore. What can matter, on the other hand, is that I can heal myself a little bit while also simultaneously dealing damage. On top of that, while the Dragoon doesn't have a whole lot of magic power, it might actually still be better than the weapons that we currently get to use to fight against Carl boss. Also, for some reason they didn't get their turn until just now, so I figure it might as well just attack 3 times and be fine with that. Probably Fairy's got a really lucky start to the ATB bar. ATB, by the way, it means action time bar. So I basically said ATB bar, or action time bar with an ATB bar. We are already level 9, so at this point we might as well want to go to level 12. Ouch. That's what I want to avoid. Like ATM machine. What's wrong with at the moment machine? But yes, it's pretty much like that. Wasn't ATB in... Wasn't the B in ATB for battle? Actually, you might be right on that, Kablooey. ATB might stand for action time battle rather than action time battle or bar. Yeah, actually, I think that sounds about right. I'm wrong on that one. Yeah, Rhycodactylus confirms. It's ATB is action time battle, not bar. Let's see real quick. We need 186 experience for the next level. Alright, yes, I'm wrong on that. That's okay. So actually ATB bar is fine. Oh, in this case I do want to jump. Or I'm just gonna heal up the thing through potion. We still have a 1 in 3 chance for him to not use arrow. The obscure fast food chain, Action Bar Burger. ABB. I don't know that one. I'm glad your university education is paying off. Nice. And good morning to you, Kablooey Crips. And also, great to you, Air Carker. Haven't said that yet. Welcome, guys. I hope you're doing well. Apparently there's another FF8TB, Final Fantasy All the Bravest. I mean, I guess. But we don't have an All the Bravest in the bottom right of the corner. Okay, whatever. By the way, you saw there Entangle missed. Entangle is subject to hit chance, and because we are higher level now, the chance for us to resist getting entangled is way better. I don't know the base hit chance for entangle, but let's say... Oh, leather shoes. Reminds me, I actually didn't equip those. It was a little bit of defense, which... Just based on how the formula works, 1 defense in the early game is actually a lot. We could. We could have an Aldebradus in the bottom right, I guess so. We gain the level, we are level 10 now. So it's just 456 and then something like 560 experience more, so about 1000 experience. How much experience do we gain from each individual battle here? I was just about to say, it's been a while since I had a back attack. Yeah. By the way, I learned that the Dragoon armor or Dragoon equipment in how to put it? I learned that in some game of Final Fantasy, the Dragoons are actually modeled... No, actually it's not the Dragoons. Never mind, it's not the Dragoons. The Gladiators are modeled after some summons. There we go. Either way, Ferris kind of looks like she has little fins. That's a thing. Would have loved to be there when somebody came up with ATB. Everybody's used to turn-based combat, and somebody gets the idea, hey guys, what if time in the battles did not stop when you get a turn? Yeah, the thing is, active stuff has existed since a long time before that already now. Hi Gothor, welcome, how are you doing? I could, by the way, go up onto higher floors where there might be more lucrative encounters. I'm mainly looking for the 3 Moldwind encounters, just so I have the highest chance for getting an elixir drop. This floor here has many mana wizards. I think also one of the encounters is 3 mana wizards at the same time. Hey Stingleword, welcome, how are you doing? Did I just get a thing? I don't think that was an elixir. Nope, that wasn't. I think I got a rod. But the mana wizards can drop rods. Rods are mage weapons. Not white ones, but mage weapons. Oh, wow. Kablooey Crips, thank you! Thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome to you. And well, I'm glad you enjoy your stay. Thank you so much. That's really nice of you. So, maybe while I'm running back and forth here for a while, I could probably go into a bit more detail on how the dagger and agility bug works, as people like to call it, if you're interested in that. On the other hand, I could just talk about literally anything. I mean, does anybody have a question about, I don't know, the game, the world, me, a cup of tea? I can answer questions, as long as you leave me the option to not answer if I don't want to. I see. Thank you so much, Kablooey Crips. I'm glad you enjoyed here. And I appreciate you, well, subscribing and giving back like that. On the other hand, by the way, if you guys just enjoy lurking, shoutouts to all the lurkers, I like you guys. Enjoy your lurking. I never want anybody to feel pressured to be monetarily subscribing or anything like that. That's just kind of the entire idea that I have, which is why I don't have any really fancy alerts. They are a bit more clean than they were before. And I guess the subscription alert is a little bit fancy. Just a little. But that's also cute. Wait, we get 2... Oh, we get actually 2 ability points per battle here. Or at least certain battles. That's kinda neat. So is this challenge run mostly a grind/item fest? It can be in certain instances, especially here in the early game against the Carl boss enemy. That's just kind of how it tends to be. Because Car Boss is a really big roadblock, but once you're past him, it gets a lot better, let's put it that way. But it definitely can be a grind/item fest. It definitely was for the White Mage, where I leveled up to level 63, and I found up 99 elixirs before I moved on past the early game. The meaning of life, meaning of Rabbite. Meaning of life is probably what you make out of it. Meaning of Rabbite. Rabbite is a little creature from Seeker of Mana. Basically, imagine a rabbit, but just a head. And a gigantic mouth that just kind of tries to rump. As in, eat everything. What would be a good question to ask me? I don't know. That answer enough? What got you into speedrun and or streaming originally? What got me into streaming originally, and also simultaneously speedrunning for that matter, is actually a little game called I Wanna Be the Guy Gaiden. I Wanna Be the Guy Gaiden is... You know, I Wanna Be the Guy is kind of a bit of a cult classic to an extent. It's the original Rage game, where people just played it and filmed themselves playing it and just raged at it. To me, it was always more of a puzzle game rather than me raging at it. It's a puzzle platform, and I Wanna Be the Guy Gaiden is very similar to that, and I just really enjoyed playing it. And so, because I enjoyed playing it, I was figuring out, oh yeah, here, this is the strategy you guys can use as a speedrunner. I'm not a speedrunner. Then I recorded some strategies, did some more tinkering, figuring out stuff, and for some reason nobody wanted to compete with me. So I figured, well, let's just see how far we can push down the time, and that's how I started. By the way, I think Ferris actually does more damage now at level 11. According to my calculations, she shouldn't deal more damage until level 12. That's interesting. Oh, we actually did less damage at level 8. Now we start dealing more damage again. Rump. I wanna be the very best, I'm pretty sure that's a fan game as well somewhere. Did I miss it? By the way, if I missed any questions, feel free to repeat them. Did you see the randomizer in development? Thoughts on if you think it will work well in Final Fantasy 5? Honestly, I seen that they are developing a randomizer. I have no idea what that will essentially entail or what it means for them. So, we'll see. That's kind of the short version. I'm curious because I think they tried to do it similarly to Final Fantasy 4 Free Enterprise, where it's more of an open world rather than being contained. I'm curious how that will work out because I like this game a lot more than Final Fantasy 4. A big portion of that, however, is that I have played this game a lot more than 4. What is my favorite food box item? I never thought about that. So I started with I Wanna Be the Guy and moved to SNES and other classics from there. Yes, basically, I've always, well, not always, but I've been fascinated with speedrunning since a long time already. And I just started with I Wanna Be the Guy Gaiden purely by accident because initially I saw, the developer of this game has a time under 1 minute in the first level. Let's see if I can beat the developer. Oh yeah, that was easy. Second place is easy to reach, just a little bit faster, and up, I got it already. First place is easy to reach, let's just get it real quick. I can improve the first place thing, and so I went from there. And I always been interested in Seeker of Mana, but because of how the rule sets were from Beat Demo's archive, it was actually really intimidating to try and get into Seeker of Mana as a speedrun. Because a lot of the tricks and such were much nicer to execute with 2 controllers, but if you use 2 controllers, that's considered a co-op run automatically by Speed Demo's archive rules. So it was a bit weird. But then I saw Luigi Meister just do 1-player 2 controller runs of Seeker of Mana. It's like, maybe I should do that too. Not exactly like that, but eventually that thought and concept came up. Also, by the way, there's no mold winds here. I'm not going to get any more elixirs, I just realized. Oopsie. Delicious rock. No! Frogs are friends, not food. And yes, there is randomizer for Final Fantasy 5 SNES and also for GBA. There's also a randomizer that basically transforms a Final Fantasy 5 into a roguelike, where you find various abilities and items and shops and chests, etc. It's kind of interesting, but not interesting enough to hold my attention. But it's neat. Topic of randomized Final Fantasy 4 random race in HDQ was quite interesting. It looked nice, I agree. Random chop classes in chests. Sounds quite interesting as well there. The 5 favorite IRL sandwich. That's a difficult one. I like a lot of sandwiches. In fact, sandwiches are my favorite food because they can be so varied. We are level 12. We also just learned jump as an ability. So, once you learn abilities, you can equip them in your ability menu or switch job. You could now equip a job, or we could now be a monk with jump, for example. I guess monks can jump anyways, but you know, the Dragoon jump instead. It's going to end up in what is a sandwich discussion, only if you make it. I don't care whether you consider a sandwich or not. I like the concept of the sandwich where you put something with bread and it's tasty. Like, for me that's just semantics. You can call a hamburger sandwich. I like hamburgers. You can say, I know hamburger's a hamburger. That's okay too. I'm alright with this. It was nice seeing an RPG run at HDQ. Yeah, Final Fantasy 4 Free Enterprise is just really good. As long as you have good commentary, which I think they pulled off pretty well. Although it can be really tough to keep track of if it's a race right away as a randomizer, especially if a game is not that well known by other generations, let's put it that way. Is taco sandwich? You'd like it to be. I love tacos. They're tasty too. It was bugging when you'd get a fast food burger and they enjoy your sandwich. Burgers are separate category. I see, fair enough. If you like to think, okay, burger is a burger, not a sandwich, I'm okay with that. So, I just maxed out on potions. We will deal a good chunk more damage thanks to having level 12 now on Ferris, so we just need to get a little lucky against Carl Boss. Beyond Chaos to HDQ, that might be a tough one, considering how much variance there is probably in that game. Am I going to RPG Limit Break? I hope so, but I don't know whether I will have the necessary funds for it. Alrighty, once again, for anybody who was not here for the earlier explanation about Carl Boss. Carl Boss is pretty simple boss fight if you have a full team, but of course, our character. This thing is. Well. Not good for you. Let's put it that way. So, he has 3 different moves he can use. He can either attack, which is what we want to see. We always want to see him just attack, do nothing else. He can use an attack that also has a stun simultaneously, which is also not the greatest. You can block it 10% of the time thanks to a leather shield, but what we really hope for is for him to just attack. Tentacle is a special move, by the way. So now we're paralyzed. Then he can tail screw, which sets my HP to 9 or less. And unless we block by a pure chance or luck, we will die after that kind of combo where he tentacles us. By the way, this was incredibly lucky so far. So, for reference, in the first turn, he has a 1 in 3 chance to use attack, a 2 in 3 chance to use tentacle. And then in the second and third turn, he has a 1 in 3 chance to attack, he has a 1 in 3 chance to use his paralyze move again, and he has a 1 in 3 chance to use his tail screw move. Tail screw move means I just need to heal. Also, if he just deals too much damage, I need to heal again. Which is unfortunate because I only have 1 elixir. But we get a second hit in. This guy has, I think, 650 HP. We dealt like 200 damage so far. Which is not going to be enough. We need to get a bit luckier than that if I only have 1 elixir. Maybe I should have gone specifically for a second elixir first. But as you can see, our physical attack is now way stronger than before. Commentary makes or breaks viewer engagement for Mantos. It absolutely does. The thing is, certain people prefer a certain style of commentary. So my commentary style doesn't necessarily appeal to a wider audience, because I just like to be super informative. And I'm not terribly good at being funny, so that doesn't help. So we are going to give this a few tries. If we are going to see that we really should have a second or third elixir for that matter, we are probably going to go back and try to get some elixirs. Usually after grinding this long, you have like 4 or 5 elixirs. So this is pretty unlucky that we didn't get any so far. Well, in a sense, rare drops are a 1 in 16 chance. So they're not that common. Also, I grinded for quite a while until I realized that there's no Moldwind enemies on the top of the room. So I probably should jump over the first attack, because he has a 2 in 3 chance to paralyze me. I think paralyze is actually worse than getting tail screwed. So yeah, I should jump over the first move. Oopsie. Oh, by the way, fun fact about those enemies right here in this area. They only attack female characters. They only specifically attack Ferris and Lena. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot. Actually, let me do this differently. Could someone do me a favor and edit or create a picture real quick? If somebody's interested in doing that, that would be nice. Otherwise, I'm just going to do it for next stream. The commentary team can keep you both entertained and also tell you what's going on in the game you're unfamiliar with, and you think they're doing a good job. Yes, I absolutely agree. I just personally think it's a lot more difficult to learn how to be entertaining than it is to learn how to... That's really unfortunate right there. Our boss goes... No, actually I go slightly faster than car boss. I'm dead, by the way, unless I block. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not good at being entertaining, but I specifically learned how to tell what's going on, at least in Seeker of Mana, as well as I can. Just a bit. I mean, it's mostly a trope, but it's kind of curious that it will be represented here. Which... I don't know. Maybe it's just the game's way to clue you in, because at this point in the game, story for that matter, you actually don't really know yet that Ferris is a lady. By the way, we only need to get 7 attacks in and then we win. Daggers do not miss. I think some commentators don't realize that entertainment is part of the role and not just to run this. Yeah, that sounds about right. My only form of entertainment really is telling you weird stuff about the game that I'm playing or something like that. 112. That's a good start. You can use Tail Screw again if you'd like to. Perfect, if it just attacks. Alrighty. Okay with this. So we have about 210 damage right now. Tentacle is unfortunate, but attacking afterwards is really nice. He is going to be having a 2 in 3 chance. Tentacle is unfortunate again. Tail Screw, and now I would need to use potions if I survive. Which I do! Huh. Surprise. This is where I would need to use another elixir, just because I waste too many turns using potions. I use potions. But it's attack number 3. This is about 322 damage. And also, by the way, this is going to kill me now because I don't have elixirs. Unless he tail screws twice in a row. Or I block the second attack. Yeah, we need elixirs. We need at least 3, I would say. Oopsie. Let me also real quick see. 150 ability points for getting... getting that second Dragoon ability, which would probably help a lot, but that's a lot of fights that we would need to fight. And I really think it's fine if I just get a few more elixirs or so. You like informative, but if they're just giving play-by-play, you don't find that super interesting. Play-by-play can be fine, I feel. But that's fair, if you don't find that super interesting, that is something I have to accept. I just like explaining tech and weirdnesses of the games. And also, sometimes play-by-play if I feel like it is particularly intriguing. Kind of a bit unusual though. Elixir? Ah. It was 3 1 in 16 chances for an elixir drop. By the way, if somebody is a little bit, what's the word, adept in creating little images, I need a 48 by 48 pixel image of a Ferris Dragoon in order to put that into the second box there next to the number 2. You have time or are willing to do so, feel free to let me know. You can either make it black background or transparent, either one works. You like to know interesting details or why something is hard or good. And he said the 10, you guess he really just mean engaging. You don't really need jokes. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, actually. Entertainment does not necessarily mean jokes. On that note, I guess it's also fair to say that entertainment is very personal. 48 by 48 pixels. And yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it would fit into the layout the best. And I don't have to resize and adjust it on the fly. Don't need those. You just like commentary when it's authentic. You'd rather a few quiet moments that's a real... If that's real rather than forced commentary or whatever. The oddly scripted Mario Odyssey. Actually, I remember there being a thing about that Odyssey run. What was the deal with that? I have actually not watched it. I'm not really terribly interested in Mario Odyssey. By the way, leather shoes are also 1 in 16. So each one of those rods and each one of those leather shoes that we have could have been an elixir instead, if we got luck here. So let's see, what would be the next threshold if I am that unlucky that I don't get an elixir drop until that level? Alright, that is highly unlikely because the next threshold would be at level 15, which that's really far away grinding here. And also, 15 is the highest I would want to be for that matter. Because after 15, I will lose one more attack modifier because the agility will fall off again, ironically. If it comes to GDQ and similar matters, you have to be fair that it is a bit more on school project level where you don't have a professional casters but people that try to somehow get through the presentation part. Well, yes and no. It might be a school project level in the sense that they somehow try to get through presentation where they are not professionals, but simultaneously I would say that people that go to GDQ at marathons and try to run stuff there, they are also really passionate about what they're trying to present rather than I guess it's one out of the 5 topics, I have to pick one of them in school, so I'll just do a bit of research, I guess. Run and commentary created this elaborate script for what jokes to say at what moments, but it was really forced and uncomfortable. Or I see the Mario Odyssey run. That's unfortunate if that didn't turn out well. Like, if they were good actors and the script worked out well, it would have been one of the most amazing runs, I guess, to be remembered by, rather than, well, people remembering it by that. You assume the commentators are volunteers and have experienced commentary before. Not necessary, actually. Very often you will have people who just are qualified to be commentators because they are runners of the games themselves or testers or so, but they don't necessarily have a good plan on how to be good at talking, for that matter. Or for that matter, they don't necessarily talk much at all. Or they may not talk at all, but you could say. The main talent is speedrunning? Kind of. It definitely helps if the person is also trying to do commentary. For reference, I'm actually one of those people who, if you meet me in real life, I'm not gonna say much. I'm just going to be sitting there silently most of the time, unless you specifically talk to me. I'm not somebody who talks a lot. And thus, I've been like that my entire life. Pretty much probably more extreme in my youth, you could say, rather than more recently, where I've come a bit out of my shell thanks to the speedrunning community being really awesome, for that matter. And I've never been particularly good at talking, a large portion because why was that still ineffective? That's weird. I've never been particularly good at talking. A large portion is thanks to me not actually getting any practice. Kind of like you're speedrunning, but you haven't really practiced yet, so you're not particularly good at it. Talking works more or less the same way. So what I did for the very first time I was at HDQ, alongside Stinger PA, is I literally practiced the script, more or less a script. It wasn't really much of a script, more of an idea of what I wanted to talk about at which points for a good month beforehand. And just kind of went through it in my head over and over and over again. So that's how I prepared for that run. Nowadays I'm a bit more free in how I have the ability to just talk off the bat, but at the same time I dare to say it's the run at HDQ 2014 is probably my most well prepared run in terms of commentary, because I practiced specifically so much for it. And I dare to say I probably have become a bit too lazy. Bedtime for you, Hobbist. Take care. Thank you for dropping by, and I wish you good night. Take care. Thank you, Wells. Welcome to you, by the way. Hope you're doing well. Tales of Fantasia run at Limit Break. Yeah, the Tales of Fantasia run I did practice. I do practice the commentary still when I get runs into marathons like that. Like I do 2-3 marathon or runs with marathon type commentary and also marathon style safety saves and such. If I'm lucky, I'm going to be at SGDQ Metal Bear, but that's kind of unlikely, I dare to say. We'll see. It really depends on the financial situation. But yeah, the Tales of Fantasia run was really comfortable. However, actually the Tales of Fantasia run, I did prepare more than I prepared a lot of other commentaries. A large portion of that was because I needed to have somebody else alongside me on the coach that actually kind of knew what to talk about. So the way I did that is I literally wrote a script for them, what is happening in which part of the run, so they might be able to chime in or fill in if I feel like I need to focus on the game instead, for that matter. So I wrote... Oh no, let me actually look it up. That's a pretty large document thing that I wrote there. Oh my goodness, let me run. Oh, you can run while entangle. That's actually kind of interesting. I think I did that earlier, actually. Let me see real quick. Fantasia, how many pages was this? Here, Fantasia speedrun commentary cheat sheet. I wrote 8 pages of things, what is happening when, what to say or stuff like that, and also specifically instructed Keishura at times to fill in for me, because I knew beforehand that I would have to focus during those parts onto the game and couldn't really be talking much. But yeah, that was one of the more well-prepared runs. I see. Good night to you, Dark Slash. Thank you for dropping by, and I wish you good night. Good night. Good times to charm. Rest well, and maybe until next time. Take care. 8 pages for how many hours of playing? That was like 4.5? Yeah, Tales of Fantasia is not particularly well known. A large portion of that is because it just was not released outside of Japan. Well, actually that's probably the biggest portion about it. Tales of Fantasia for the Super Nintendo is also not that good of a game if you compare it to later Tales of titles. Like, you can see a lot of the beginnings of what eventually evolved into other mechanics, much more refined in stuff like Tales of Symphonia and such. It's essentially just a prototype, for that matter. Yes, the PlayStation 1 version for Tales of Fantasia is really nice. If you play Tales of Fantasia, I highly recommend you play the PlayStation version. My very first Tales of games was Tales of Symphonia for the GameCube, which is also kind of pretty much the first one that was released in the region I was in. And I absolutely loved that game as a kid. Interestingly enough, when I played GameCube, or during the GameCube era, let's put it that way, when I was a kid, I also started getting more and more interested in playing PC games instead. So, unlike the Nintendo 64 games, which I almost all of them played at least until the end, or beat even. A lot of the games from the GameCube I never ended up beating. However, Tales of Symphonia just kind of sucked me in so much that I just played all the way through. It was really awesome. On the other hand, Tales of Symphonia I liked a lot, like a lot. And it kind of inspired me to go back to a previous GameCube game that I had since a while, but it just never got far, which was Skies of Arcadia Legends. Nowadays, I like Skies of Arcadia Legends a lot more than I do Tales of Symphonia, but it's really difficult to get into that game, because it's too slow for its own good. Destiny was your first and then you played the ROM translation of Tales of Fantasia after? I see. There is a Game Boy Advance version of Tales of Fantasia, which actually here's the thing. For me, the weirdest thing about Tales of Fantasia's Game Boy Advance version is I somehow remember playing that at some point. Probably, maybe? And I'm just not sure whether that's actually true or not. I had like 4 or 5 Game Boy Advance games that I played just a little and then only remembered, oh yeah, I have that, when I found them in the attic at some point. Like, I had a Lord of the Rings Game Boy Advance game. I would not have remembered that if I didn't find that thing in the attic. But at the same time, I kind of feel like I have seen the Game Boy Advance version of that game. And I know I have played Tales of Fantasia a little bit, but never got much further than just to the sylphs, essentially. Just before the sylphs I stopped playing at the time. And I just don't know whether I just imagined that or what exactly happened. The interesting thing for me is I actually prefer the style of Tales of Fantasia for the Super Nintendo over the style of later Tales of games in terms of combat. Tales of Fantasia feels a lot more rigid, like you deal a ton of damage, but the enemies deal a ton of damage too, so you better choose your moves wisely, otherwise you die quickly. Which, that's true as well for Tales of games. At least for Tales of Symphonia in the early game. When you play hard mode, that's the same. But in Tales of Symphonia, once you get to a certain point, it doesn't feel like it's particularly that difficult anymore unless you play or try to beat the super bosses and such, or the optional bosses. Then it can get tricky at times, but most of the time it's really not that bad. It feels like anyways. However, Tales of Fantasia is like, you can die really easily later on as well. You better be prepared. Or, if you know what you're doing, it kind of goes the other way around in a sense that you can do so much if you know what you're doing in that game and just destroy and demolish enemies. Pretty awesome. It's what I like to call, the game is a lot more cutthroat than the others. Tales of games that I know about. But to be absolutely fair, the only one I played is Tales of Symphonia. Just kind of the other ones look similar to Tales of Symphonia rather than the old Tales of Fantasia game. By the way, I would like to point out, I have gotten a single elixir so far. This is really, really unlucky. Have I leveled up to? I have leveled up even to level 13 already. Wow. Same encounter so many times. Seems to be the most common encounter here. I do believe there is 3 common encounters, 1 uncommon encounter and 1 rare encounter in each area, if I'm not mistaken. I would like to have the 3 mold winds, preferably. Because those are the ones that can drop me an elixir, 1 in 16 times. I actually don't really like fighting this one because it's just 1 mold win, so then 3 more enemies to kill. But at the same time, if I keep running for everything until I get the 3 mold wins, this will probably on average take longer to get 1 elixir. At this point I would be happy with 1 elixir. And then just kind of grind out Carl boss until I get lucky enough. Oh. Maybe 1 more elixir. Because 1 is going to be rather tough. With 3, I think we have a really good shot at it. Oh. Dynasty is raiding with a party of 4. Thank you, I appreciate that, and welcome everybody. I hope you're doing well. We're currently playing Final Fantasy 5 Solo Cactus Solo Chop Challenge, and I'm getting back attacked. People have chosen that we are going to run through the game as a Dragoon. And I'm currently trying to get 1 more elixir in order to defeat the first real boss, that is Carl boss. So that's going to be interesting. So those guys have a 1 in 16 chance each to drop an elixir. So let's see. Hey Cine, welcome. How are you doing? And Queen's TV Dynasty, thank you for rating the host. How are you doing and what were you doing, if I may ask? Always so disappointing when the 3 mold wind encounters just doesn't give me an elixir. Even though it is more likely to not get elixirs than it is to get them. It's just the best shot that I have at this entire thing. You're finishing up a seat in Final Fantasy 4 Free Enterprise. Nice. I hope that worked out well. By the way, one thing over Final Fantasy 6 this game definitely has is the menus are a lot more snappy, like more responsive. It took me a while to get used to menus for this game here again. I run away from these encounters because I'm in the back row, which means I only deal half the physical damage. Which means I can't one-shot the snake, since it is also in the back row, meaning the half damage gets halved again. And that's not quite enough damage to one-shot it. You're practicing on league matches, Flag. I see. I don't know really what that means. I've only done like 2 randomizers, so I get an idea of it. It was neat. Nothing I would repeatedly play over and over again like did for Link to the Past randomizer, but I can definitely see the appeal of it. Did I just gain another level? Again, leveling up to just level 12, yeah, we usually have like 3, 4, 5 elixirs. This has been really unlucky so far. And the elixirs is really what I'm looking for right now. The additional HP is most likely not really going to help me. It might a little bit in fringe scenarios, but I just need the elixirs. At this point I'm wondering if I were to grind at the top of the tower instead, whether I would have reached level 2 Dragoon already. Because the Lancer, or I guess Dragon ability I would get from that, would be very helpful. Ocarina of Time render. I should try that sometime. I've never even tried it yet. The most intimidating factor about Ocarina of Time Randomizer to me is that it seems to just really take a long time unless you know really well what you're doing. Like, at least for A Link to the Past, I figured I can finish a run in 4 or 5 hours the first time I played it. But Ocarina of Time would be a multi-session thing. The thing is, I also have not really watched much Ocarina of Time randomizers, so probably should do that first before I start running it myself. Maybe. Still no elixirs. It's rather long given how many places to check for items. Yes. It's also 3D, so there's that. Plus, I've actually never 100%ed Ocarina of Time, which doesn't really mean much, considering I've never 100%ed A Link to the Past either before. But either way, there's a lot of places I just don't know that there are items there, for that matter. I think this is the rare encounter, considering how few we have seen it so far. Fun fact, those rods are also 1 in 16 chances to drop, and we have 4 of them. There's a lot more Mold Winds than there is Money Wizards. To be fair, we did grind for quite a while at the top of the tower where there's barely any Mold Winds and a lot more Money Wizards. So it's not entirely fair to blame it all on just unluck. Just unlucky. Just being unlucky, I guess? Whatever. You get the idea. Nice thing is, when we get more of those encounters here, at least the chance of getting elixirs is drastically increased. Come on. If I gain one more level, I'm probably just going to try Carl Boss again. Actually, hang on. What did I say? What level was the level where I would get an additional attack multiplier? That was level 15. I really did not expect to get to level 15. So yeah, 15 is where we're going, because I will deal even more damage. And I'm almost guaranteed to defeat Carl Boss in 6 attacks rather than 7. Right now it is 7. At level 15 it will be 6. The irony of the thing is that if I level up to level 16, as in at 15 it will be 6 attacks guaranteed. If I level up to level 16 and higher, it will be 7 attacks again. Unless I get really lucky with high rolls. Oh, there's an elixir, finally, thank you. Almost tempting to go to a 15 at this point, but we're just going. Either way, 15 would give me more damage, and 16 would give me actually less damage than 15. Just purely because of how the agility works with giving you additional attack power through daggers. Onions do it in 1 attack. Unfortunately we don't have the onion shop class here. By the way, there's no encounters at all in... Oh, I should heal. There's no encounters at all in the left side of the waters here. So it's kind of curious, in a sense. Preemptive attack. And I'm reasonably certain that with a bit of luck and 3 elixirs we will be able to do this without too much trouble. You might think, oh, you are using elixirs already? How horrible is this going to be later in the game? A lot less horrible because the bosses are not so brutally tailored towards absolutely demolishing a solo character on one hand, and also on the other hand we will have a lot more options in terms of equipment. My party is quite lazy. I don't have a party. I just have Ferris. And maybe a few ragdolls laying on the floor. And yeah, the most brutal start you can have is with a solo character challenge run with a white mage. The white mage doesn't have the lowest strength of every character, but the white mage is the only class that cannot use daggers. So your best weapon, the dagger from Ferris, you straight up cannot use. So you have to use a rod. Actually, it's a staff. And the staff has like a 20% chance to miss. And deals really, really wimpy damage. So yeah, that's not fun. Alrighty. Tentacle. That's okay. 1 in 3 chance again to use Tail Screw in the next run. It did use it, unfortunately, so I kind of have to heal right now. They got 1 attacking. So next turn is a 2 in 3 chance to stun me. By the way, that's always if we don't block. Now it's a 1 in 3 to Tail Screw again. 1 in 3 to Tail Screw, 1 in 3 to stun. Okay, Tail Screw again. Lovely. So, next turn, 2 in 3 chance to stun. Nice, I actually get to attack. This turn is 1 in 3 to Tail Screw. 1 in 3 to attack as well, by the way, which is what we love to see. That's 3 attacks so far. Oh wow. Right, we need 7 attacks. So next is not going to kill me, because he can't use Tail Screw next turn. This time he can use Tail Screw again. It's unfortunate, because he did. Got my last elixir. Alright, let's think about this. Alright, I'm going to jump. This is a bit risky, but it will be fine, because at least we can block the next attack. Wait, no, I shouldn't have jumped. I shouldn't have jumped. Ah, blocked. The reason I attacked instead is because I only needed like 2 more attacks or so. And if I use Tail Screw again, Tail Screw doesn't kill me, it just puts me into critical HP. So I had a 1 in 3 chance of surviving 1 more turn. And then I think the Dragoon is actually fast enough to outspeed Carbos over the course of 4 turns probably. I don't know the details. The story is that Ferris carries 3 dead bodies around and tries to get rid of them while she gets interrupted by random things happening all the time. Yes, pretty much. You know, she ferries them around. I should have named her Charon. So what is the next roadblock this run? The next roadblock coming up, let's see. Siren is no problem, Magisa is no problem. Bit annoying, but no problem. Biblos is going to be the next roadblock. Actually, I should jump over the first one because he has a 2 in 3 chance to stun me. The classic. Stun, tail screw, attack. I'm actually starting to wonder whether it would be better for me to always jump, because Fairies, I think, is slightly faster than Carl Boss right now. Let's see. Carl Boss has 30 speed. I don't know what that means in agility terms, but I have 32 agility. Yeah, Biblos is going to be the next roadblock in this run. And that one will be a pretty decently sized one as well. But we should be able to push through him within time. At least we have a lot more options. And we can get just lucky overall. Fun fact, it took me about 11 hours getting past this boss with a solo white mage, because we had to level up to, what was it, 22 or so? And then it was a few hours of trying. On Magus, on the other hand, it took him like 16 hours to get past this guy with a solo white mage. I went faster than him. That is really bad. I'm just gonna... Huh. He will hit me again. That jump is so bad right now because it doesn't cost me an entire turn. Aww. Well, white mages are dumb. Well... I mean... Even if you are not the smartest, you just punch at the wall hard enough, eventually it will break. Either your hand is that one will break, or the wall. Like 99% of the time it's going to be your hand, but those 1% of the time you will succeed. Remember that one boss that was a horrible gamble with 4 berserkers? Yes, can you imagine with a solo berserker instead? You tried that one once and broke your hand, you don't recommend. Ow. Yeah, I don't recommend that either. Please don't do that. And for those curious and know a bit about the game, it is possible to get to the last boss with a solo berserker. Hey, nice block. Good job. 10% of the time that always works. That's really nice. 2 attacks already. That's the 3rd attack. Wow, I'm getting lucky here. 4 attacks. Actually, I'm going to jump here. I would like to jump here. 1 in 3 chance to tail screw. Alright, we are fine-ish for now. 1 in 3, 1 in 3, 1 in 3. Ah, okay, next turn is fine. We are not going to die because he can only attack or tentacle. So now we can tail screw again. Right, just a regular attack. Attack number 5. We need just 2 more. Unfortunate, but next turn he can only tentacle and attack right now. So now he can use tail screw and stuff. Uh-oh. Next turn he can use tail screw. Unfortunately he did. So we have a 10% chance of surviving here because blocking. And we didn't. Too bad. That was pretty good. And yes, so here's the thing about a solo berserker. You can technically beat the final boss with a solo berserker if the stars align. And if I ever do a solo berserker, what I'm gonna do is I will figure or try to figure out whether it's possible to manipulate randomness in this game to make it somewhat predictable. In the sense that I can manipulate it from a certain point and then figure out the script how I can defeat Neo X Death. That's the plan. But that's gonna work, I don't know. But if I ever do that, which will be the last challenge if I ever do it. Welcome home, Vals. And enjoy your relaxing. That sounds nice. Food also sounds nice, but I have to wait for that for a while longer. One. Two. Alright. 3. That's a tail screw. Next attack is unfortunately going to be a guaranteed attack, so I have to heal. He is faster than me? Really? He's faster than me by just enough that he could attack twice before I got to go once. That is not true for when I jump. He's faster than my elixir. I guess the elixir does have a tiny bit of wind-up time until it goes out. That's true. But that's just rude. I figured it would be fine, but nope. So you know how in Final Fantasy IV you have a cast time? That is mostly not a thing in this game. There's a little bit of that, but generally speaking, it's not much to worry about. But there's those little things where jump actually takes a little bit longer until you execute the jump, versus just an attack. That was really rude, because we even got 3 attacks in the beginning. But I think what I want to do is maybe do a jump over one of his attacks. Or just kind of... No. The thing is, this is always going to happen from the beginning. But this was without getting stunned, wasn't it? If I get stunned just once, it will kind of normalize itself a little. One. Two. 3. 4. It's the 4th attack, so he's back on the first script. Alright. You can use Tailscrew next turn if you want to. I just realized something. Well, next is either stun or attack. Alright. 5. Just 2 more attacks. 6. That's unfortunate. You're fine-ish for now. That's unfortunate. Oh, we might just win here. There we go. We won. Hooray! Hey Takase, welcome. Good morning to you. Or good evening? Whatever. Hope you're doing well. Is there a gameplay reason you chose Ferris? Kinda. The main reason why it's a choice between Butts and Ferris is Butts is there for literally every single fight in the game. Ferris is there for almost every fight in the game except for one little one that you can defeat with actually level 1 characters. And I essentially asked chat just before we started, hey, what do you guys would like to see? Would you like me to play as Butts or as Ferris? And we had about 6 or 7 responses with Ferris and 0 with Butts. There's that. I punched them all hard enough, pretty much. So by the way, what I just realized is I actually had the battle speed at 5 rather than 6. Which meant Carbos went slightly faster than if I had it at 6. So that was probably the difference between me not being able to use an elixir and being able to use one earlier. So I should have put it to 5. Oopsie. But yes. Welcome back, PK Scratch. We have just moved on. You'd have to pick Butts, but that's because you like his Dragoon job sprite looks a lot. That's fair. I actually really like how Ferris looks. So I would have picked Ferris. That's from the Dragoon sprite. And we are at a ship graveyard. Everybody's revived back to normal HP, which means we need to kill them off again. Also, we can go out of our way to pick up stuff like this little hidden flail over here, which is not a weapon you will get until way later, if you don't pick it up here. But at the same time, not terribly useful unless you play a white mage. And boy, if you're a white mage, you're going to use this thing for a long time. Like when I say a long time, it's like 70-80 hours until we finally get there. I actually don't know the numbers. Just gonna jump, and you guys are gonna die. As you can see, everybody attacks before Ferris gets to jump. That's kind of a delay from the jump. By the way, enemies in the back row also deal less physical damage. The one thing I can tell you guys, and that is, if you have a top class that can use shields, you are much better off than a top class that cannot use shields if you do solo character challenge, because shields are insanely good and also give you a few more options on various boss fights. It just makes it significantly nicer to deal with various things, let's put it that way. An undead Rusk. By the way, undead enemies you can just throw potions at and deal 50 damage. Which, I guess that's kinda neat. But also not all that important. So the next boss coming up is going to be Siren. And she has two different forms. A human form, where she uses 3 spells and then turns into the undead form. And well, that undead form, where she either uses physical attacks or physical attacks that poison you. And also deal a bit more damage for that matter. So either way, Siren on the first turn can either use Mute, Slow or Haste. We kind of don't want to see Slow because Slow literally lasts forever in this game and it's really bad if you get hit by it. Second turn she can use Cure to heal herself a little bit, Ice or Scan. Scan literally doesn't do anything, it just looks at your stats, but that doesn't do anything for monsters anyways. Probably demonstration of how you can use Scan to identify stats of monsters, kind of as a player character, but that's about it. Ice does a bit of damage, but we would have enough HP to survive it. Then on the third turn she can use Armor, Sleep or Bolt. Sleep would be kinda bad because we can't do anything until she hits us again, with physical attacks that is. Bolt deals a bit of damage, Armor we would deal half the physical damage after she uses it. But yeah. You're just waiting for level 1 Galuf versus Gilgamesh. Well, I guess that's going to be a thing. And we also get finally to save after having finally defeated Carl boss. Unfortunately, we also do get healed to full. The one thing I want to do here is I'm gonna go ahead and pick up some antidotes. Because if I get hit by a bear hug from Siren, I'm gonna get poisoned. And that's kinda bad. Fun fact, barehanded you can have a 16% chance to critically hit. The Galuf can't finish off Lena, but himself, but he can finish off Lena. So that the skeletons can easily finish off Galuf, and we are done with this. Matt the Geek, thank you for the host, I appreciate that. Victory, and we get a dagger drop. 1 in 16 chance to get a dagger from those guys. Which, by the way, it's a 1 in 16 chance to get an elixir from the undead Rusk, and also from the aqua gels. Hey Matt, thank you for the good luck. Can definitely use that. And welcome to you. How are you doing? I probably will want to try and get level 15 before Siren, although that might take longer than I would hope for. Because level 15 Faris would gain a little bit more damage. Just a little. Welcome to a Faris Dragoon only run. Indeed. They also give us 3 ability points, which is the most you get for quite a while. Yeah, no, we would need a lot more ability points to get through this. So, I'm gonna attack the Psycho Head first, because that thing has an attack that causes me to have the slip status on Ferris. Slip status is essentially you lose HP every tick. And those ticks are really fast, like 20-30 times a second, and then eventually it tapers off. But because of how it works in conjunction with your menuing time, you can actually lose a load of damage or HP if you are not quick enough with menuing because of the flip status. Overall, it's just a lot of damage, especially extreme in the early game. Later on, it's not as brutal anymore because you have more maximum HP. How much do you plan to destroy enemy AI by jumping over things? Well, as much as I can, but in certain instances that's not going to be all that effective, I would say. We'll see. Alrighty, so first of all, gonna heal up before we get into the boss fight. Second, what I should have done before is I should have set combat speed to 6. So how battle speed works in this game is it really only affects how fast the enemies go. So essentially it's kind of like a difficulty slider, pretty much like Final Fantasy 6. You put it at 1, the enemies are going real fast, and you will not get a lot less turns compared to them. We're already at a pretty heavy disadvantage with only one character, so I'm not gonna do that. Also, it affects how long you have time until the ATB continues, and how much menuing time you get until the ATB continues when you first gain control. Alrighty. Siren has a total of 900 HP. She is only level 2, so stuff that can miss has a decently high chance of missing, because we are a fair bit higher level than she is. But really, all we want to see is not getting slowed. If she gets hasted, it's actually not nearly as bad. Because as soon as she changes forms to undead, she will be slowed down again. Does everybody get revived here? No. The HP actually does not change. So it's not a worry. So we just attack. Mute is perfect because I don't cast spells anyways. By the way, Mute does wear off eventually, so that's 908, well, 100 damage. Yana is perfect because it literally doesn't do anything. That's about 200 damage. And armor is kinda bad for us because we only deal half damage, so 250. Now she changes into an undead form, which means she will be using pretty strong physical attacks. So I'm going to be mostly jumping over her attacks, and my physical attacks are going to deal significantly less damage. Also, I don't know what that second effect is about. Either way, my attacks are going to deal significantly less damage because she has way higher defense in her undead form. She's going to change back, however, so we get the chance to attack again. So we're at about 300 damage, 400 now. Thank you. 500. 4 more hits and she's dead. Well, I like that anyways. Oh, are you serious? 600. That's a 1 in 3 chance every time she chooses which move she goes. Because of the way targeting works in this game, enemies don't require targeting immediately after going ineffective due to jump or hide. Yeah, I guess. I kind of knew this could happen, but I've not really seen it before. So, because her physical attacks are so much stronger in undead form, I just want to jump over them. Alrighty, we are probably just under 700. It's more like 800, so we could win next turn. Boom, and we do. So keeping track of enemy HP is actually kind of a big deal. We also get a bronze armor, If we were to kill her in her undead form, she would get a bronze shield instead, which I prefer the bronze shield, because it doesn't just have more defense, but more importantly, it has a higher chance to block, which is kind of a big deal. So this went really well, actually. How much more experience do I need for... 58, okay. Again, level 15 is going to result in another boost in attack power, so I will want to get that. I'm not going to get any new weapon in the next town, but I will get some new armor and equipment. Next town is the first time you can actually buy daggers. Previously you could not buy daggers, only broadswords, so which makes it a bit awkward if you have a challenge run where you start as thieves and you don't get any... Well, you only have 2 daggers. One super weak dagger, literally the weakest weapon in the entire game, and one that is... well, a dagger that Ferris brings. Your party members must be narcoleptic. Yep. Bronze helmet, we already have a bronze armor. So, we have better equipment now. So we go from 3 defense to 8. Which doesn't sound like a whole lot. But basically, the closer we get to reducing the enemy's attack multiplier to 0, the more effective one single point of armor is going to be. As a matter of fact, there will be a boss fight coming up after the next one, in fact, where just reaching a certain threshold of HP makes us take 0 damage from his physical attacks, and only his special ability will be able to damage us at all. So, and that's all I wanted in this town here. We could still get an ice rod if I wanted to. But we can't use rods anyways. And a little bit of money doesn't matter too much. Probably, maybe. Maybe I should care about it. Who knows? Either way, more defense. We need a little bit more experience, but I'm just going to pick or cherry pick the encounter, since the encounters here are not terribly valuable in terms of how much effort you invest to defeat them versus how much experience or just money or anything you get from them. There's a phoenix on the lower path, a phoenix down to revive your party. There's also a tent just on that lower path over there. Galakat, by the way, have evasion, which one of the nice things about Jump is that it never misses. So I have to not worry much about evasion at all. Jump doesn't really increase my damage at all without having a spear, but the guaranteed hit is really nice. Plus, I can attack enemies from the back row for full damage while jumping. So that's kind of neat too. Did I level? Nope, I still need at least one more enemy. You don't want to step over those flowers because they are poisonous and poison your entire party if you do. This is so weird. Oh wow, I didn't expect you to survive a hit. Interesting. Also, by the way, Final Fantasy 5 has one of the creative ways of how you get certain abilities. If you have a blue mage, you learn abilities by getting hit by them and then winning the battle in which you got hit, rather than running away in comparison anyways. So, and in this area here, there is an enemy that casts Flash, but he doesn't have enough MP. So in order to get Flash for your blue mage, which by the way blinds, and blind is insanely good in this game, you need to give him an ether in order so it has enough MP, then get hit by it and then defeat it. And yeah, as I said, Flash is really crazy good in this game, so I dare to say it's worth it. Alrighty, so next up we have Magiza and Forza as our enemies. So initially we just see Magiza. She has 650 HP total, so actually a lot less than Siren. The thing about her is though, once she drops below 300 HP, she will call her husband, Forza, and he is purely a physical force to be reckoned with. Alternatively, you can learn Flash on Steam Engine mode. Yes, there's a bunch of possibilities. But the fact that you can literally use it right here against Forza is just perfect in my opinion. Alrighty, we start by hitting her a bunch. On the 36, so if I had enough damage, I might be able to outspeed her and kill her before she can call Forza, but we need to deal at least 151 damage for that, and then get lucky with the setup. So what I'm doing here, just going to push her into that next phase. Ooh, that was a nice block. Going to the back row, so now we take only half the physical damage. And then we jump on Magiza. Magiza is now currently considered to be in the back row, which means she only takes half the damage from physical attacks, plus I'm in the back row, so I would only deal half the damage, so a quarter damage we would deal. We still want to finish her off, so she stops casting spells or healing Forza for that matter. Oh wow, she actually still survived that. I thought she would die here. Pretty sure she will die to a single physical though. There we go. Alrighty, and now against this guy here, we jump because we are in the back row. So we still deal full damage, but he will miss us kind of most of the time. He does have a fair bit of physical defense, so it's not going to be that fast. Plus he has 850 HP. So we need to hit him about 9 to 10 times. You learned Flash from RPG at RPG Outbreak. How does that work? And here we see Lena in her natural poison state. Something like that. Ouch. Tackle. Tackle is essentially just dealing 50% more damage. Now I need to start healing. Oh wow, he is faster than me? Ew. The thing is, I could try use elixir in order to heal up, but if I can't just use potions... Elixirs are really valuable. It's just against car boss you don't have much of a choice. But against this guy, I can just slowly heal up. Unless he does tackle me. But he only tackles like 1 in 3 times. In theory. So, unfortunately he also heals a little bit over time thanks to his regen status. But oh well, it's not that much. We should still defeat him in, what was it? 4 or 5 turns, I think. Okay, that was a nice block, so we jump now. Because we will jump over his next attack too. So you always want to jump over an enemy's attack. You can somehow manage it. That's one. Here. He's going to go before me again, isn't he? No, he didn't. 3. The jump doesn't take quite an entire turn of yours, it's actually slightly less, it looks like. There's the 2 attacks. But thanks to the blocks, we have no trouble and we will defeat him by Goomba stumping him. Boom. Oh, or not. I was so sure he would die there. There we go. Goomba stumped. Varys wins. We also get a whip out of this entire deal. And by the way, we also get a mithril helmet, which the game doesn't necessarily tell you about, but this is supposed to be Lena's father's helmet that they find on top of the mountain here. So we just put that to good use because it gives us a bunch more defense that we can't get until after the next town. So that's a thing. Also, hey BGG, good morning, how are you doing? Welcome. So, alright, in this town here, we get the first armor item that actually can give us +1 strength. The training suit. Not the greatest, realistically. Iron armor and shield is better armor for that matter in terms of defense values, but this is really only 1 defense less and gives us +1 strength. Plus, it has less equipment weight. So the equipment weight is actually quite relevant because every 8 equipment weight, so 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, etc., you lose 1 agility in terms of speed. So if I equip the training suit, it's kind of the equivalent of me getting +1 agility as well on top of that. Just because it is so much lighter, I guess. I don't think equipment weight is a thing in Final Fantasy VI, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not necessarily a mechanic you would learn about there. And actually, even if you play this game here, you would not necessarily know about this, I guess. Antidotes, get some maiden kisses. Lucky mallets. Eye drops. I guess some of those. So, once again, status effects are a really big deal in Final Fantasy V. So having protection, or at least a cure for them, is kinda awesome. So in this castle there's 2 kind of mini secrets. One is the basement, where unless you have a thief with flea, you're probably gonna get demolished once you get here for the first time. Because in the basement there is an enemy that always back attacks you. Unless you have a thief in your party, which prevents back attacks entirely. And because he back attacks you, he just gets the first strike. He deals like 300, 400, 500 damage, I don't know. It's a lot. I would probably survive one hit by that guy right now. And on top of that, you can... It's incredibly difficult to run from an encounter. It's technically possible, but it's really, really, really difficult. But he's also really difficult to hit if you try to fight him, plus has a ridiculous amount of defense. So essentially, he's not worth fighting. Literally, because you don't even get any... You get 1 gold for beating him. That's it. For 1 ability point, either way it's essentially nothing. So you really don't want to encounter that enemy until you have a thief with flee, because flee guarantees that you can run away. Or you wait until way later, which is what I'm gonna do, or would do with the Dragoon here. And what you get out of the basement is 2000 gold, a really strange time mage spell which sets your battle speed to 6. Kind of like you go into the config menu and set it to 6. So it literally doesn't do anything unless you play on the higher battle speed. And the Elven Cape. The Elven Cape is really, really good because it allows you to 1 in 3 times completely evade physical attacks. It stacks with the shield multiplicatively, which means both of them work simultaneously, but you don't get the percentage of dodging added together. Kind of like, you do actually get that added together in Final Fantasy 6, if I'm not mistaken. All of those just add into the block status, or evasion, or M block for that matter. In this game here, it first checks for the evasion of the Elf Cape, alright, 1 in 3, and then it checks for the block hit for the shield, which is, I think, 20% actually. So 1 in 5 you block with the shield, and then it checks for 1 in 1 in 3 to block with the Elf Cape. Also Elf Cape is C +1 agility, so that's kind of nice. There's a Maiden's Kiss on the right side, and that chest. I don't need it. The Maiden's Kiss allows you to reverse the status effect of getting frogged. I would like to not get frogged, but I have Maiden's Kisses anyways. And good morning to you, Quadlight. Welcome. How are you doing? Oh yeah, the other secret in the castle is a pretty tough encounter with the ice summon magic iron. I kind of don't want to deal with her. By the way, Silk Rope gives me, or would give me, magic evasion. I don't think a Dragoon can equip it. Plus magic evasion right now is not terribly useful. But we just picked up a silver ring. All it does is it gives us +2 defense as an accessory slot, which is 1 more than the glasses do. The glasses... Oh, you can't even use it. That's interesting, I didn't know that. So the glasses actually protect you from being blinded. Once again, being blinded in this game is kind of a big deal. It's like a 90% chance to miss, unless you're jumping. And greetings to you, Jimbo UK 31. Welcome, I hope you're doing well. So this is Galura. Pretty simple boss actually overall. Galura has 1200 HP, so this will take a while until we defeat him. The difficulty of dealing with him comes with him having a certain AI script. So right now, all he does is attack. That's it, he literally doesn't do anything else. However, once you deal 400 damage, he will start using a rush on you. As a counterattack, or more specifically, he counterattacks twice. And I think 1 in 3 times for each counterattack he can use rush. And rush is HP slip status, which means you lose a lot of HP really quickly. It's kind of like poison, but a bit more aggressive. As you can see in the back row with all the defense, we pretty much don't take any damage from him, just because of how multipliers work. Good morning to you, Jimbo, UK. Welcome, how are you doing? I may have said that already, but it doesn't matter. Alrighty. So now he starts counterattacking. Let's see... Alrighty, he always counterattacks first with a regular attack, and then he has a 1 in 3 chance to do nothing, or 1 in 3 to attack, or just to use his rush attack. We just don't want to get hit by rush. That's all there is. You're doing good? That's all nice. So weird, that ineffective text. I don't even try to abuse it, but it's just kind of... I want to jump. Because I can deal full damage from the back row if I do that. But it makes sense to do that. In case you're wondering, you don't get spears until a fair bit later than this, because you're not supposed to have a Dragoon yet. That's one weird looking tortoise. Tortoise? How do you even say that word in English? Tortoise? Because the word looks very French to me. Either way, that is a very weird looking turtle, I agree. Tortoise? Okay, tortoise. That is a very weird looking tortoise. So yeah. If you have a team of 4 thieves against this guy, he is pretty brutal. Because of how much damage he deals with his physical attacks if you don't have heavy armor. And the rush, as you can see now, it drains my HP ridiculously fast. And it's actually even more extreme if I stay in the menu for a while. It just kind of does not slow down during the menu time. Oh! However, I just figured out that jumping apparently still counts against the slip timer. And so it stops subtracting my HP. That's pretty awesome. I did not know that. Essentially, you don't get regeneration in the air in this game while jumping. You do in Final Fantasy VI. However, you also don't lose HP through the slip status. And it still counts down the timer for when you would stop losing HP. So jump is, I guess, the natural counter to slip. Because there's literally no other way to counter it, for that matter. You get 1 high potion. And let me tell you, high potion is essentially a full heal, just as good as an elixir. Because you don't get elixirs until way later. We could get 1 more high potion by visiting Lena's and Ferris' home, if we really wanted to. I'm not sure how necessary that is though. So my current plan is to complete up until the fire crystal. Probably also the castle escape, and then that's it probably for me for today. So this will be at least another hour and probably and a half until then though. That's kind of as a heads up. So here is where you get the second set of jobs unlocked. And I should probably realize that I should stop mashing the A button and looking up stuff about the game. Actually walk out to exit. I love how the world building and vehicle acquisition in this felt very much like Final Fantasy 3. The world always changing, going to and from different airships and stuff. I see. And actually overall seems very much Final Fantasy 3 inspired, because I think Final Fantasy 3 also allows you to switch between jobs. More or less freely. I think it actually costs you points in order to switch in that game though. Yeah, it makes sense actually. Michael, thank you for the raid and the host, I appreciate it. Cat cam, best cam. I agree. Ant cam is second. And then don't care what cam is afterwards. Hey Michael, thank you for the raid and the host, welcome. How are you doing and what were you doing if I may ask? Oh, hi Sildra. You would say Square/Square really loves Final Fantasy 3 more than any other because they reference it a lot more than other Final Fantasies. Interesting. I was not aware of that. You're playing some casual Final Fantasy 9 for the PC. Nice. I hope you like that. I actually really like Final Fantasy 9 for PC, aside from the battle UI being too large. It's actually really nice. Like, I keep seeing the PlayStation version of it, and I feel like I could just not get into Final Fantasy 9 as easily if I didn't have the improved graphics. That's just me. The controls would probably be nicer on PlayStation, but I actually really appreciate the upgrading graphics. Final Fantasy 3 is so hard. I've yet to play it. Tackling the not improved graphics, just uncompressed. Yeah, I mean, in my book that's the same thing, to be completely honest. Like, while I see that there's a technical difference, for me, it looks better. That's that. But yeah, I definitely see what you mean. Final Fantasy 9 is your favorite? It's a really, really, really good one. The music is amazing in Final Fantasy 9. Just overall, like, top-notch. By the way, I could fight some of those wolves. They don't deal a whole lot of damage, and I one-shot each one of them. But I don't feel like I need to. Unless I need money for buying equipment afterwards, I'm not going to fight wolves, I don't think. You think both Final Fantasy 8 and 9, 8, well, visually. I don't really know about 8, I've not really seen much of it. But 9 looks really, really crazy good on PC. I appreciate how it looks on PlayStation from what I see from streams. So that's really nice too. So, mithril armor we're gonna buy. By the way, you do actually pay 175 gold, which is an insane discount on whatever you're trying to buy here. So you do get a heavy discount for one item, and then they drag you into prison. And yeah, it's not an HD version, it's just a iOS version port, which is basically uncompressed. I really hope that they figure out sometime how to make a proper UI that is not just a port from the iOS. Honestly, I think the problem is less that they don't figure it out, and more that... how to put it? They just don't give their developers and designers enough time / manpower in order to make it proper. Which, unfortunately, is kind of apparent in Secret of Mana HD remake, I dare to say. There is a mod for that, for the battle UI actually, for Final Fantasy 9, but I couldn't get the mod to work. It seems really weird and unnecessarily complicated. I didn't end up using it. Yeah, well, that makes sense, because Final Fantasy 9 looks insanely good. For a PlayStation game, that is just ridiculously good. Like, it's really, really crazy. Fire! 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 I love that you can interact from two different sides, from the top and from the bottom, and it has just kind of a slightly different effect. So now we finally can go and buy more armor equipment pieces and stuff. So, all we really need is a mithril dagger. Also, I can sell all the unnecessary things that I'm never going to end up using. Such as the leather shields. I'm not going to use a dagger anymore. I might... Training suit we keep for the +1 strength, because that is actually going to be potentially relevant anyways. It depends on how I calculate, whether I am not too lazy to calculate certain thresholds. I'll use the silk robe anyways. And that's that. We probably still don't have enough money for everything, so... We could buy a mithril sword. Actually, no, never mind. I mean, we can buy it, we just can't equip it. I keep forgetting that Dragoon can't equip swords in this game, it's so weird. Mithril shield is actually pretty good physical defense. I think 25% block chance, so really solid. We do get one plumed hat because it has actually really good magical evasion, and maybe I want to have that sometime. And do I want this? I guess I might as well get it until... No, actually, just remembered. There is a mithril glove in the ship coming up. No, everything is mithril except for the accessory. Level 15 is perfect, by the way. If I level up once, I'm actually going to deal less damage because of how weird dagger works. You never leave home without setting a few fires to keep the place warm. Right. Yeah, those are random places. You need to do an entire suggest, as in food box suggest thing, as in just exclamation mark suggest for reading how this works. So, here is in fact where we get the metal glove for free. I mean, I guess in a sense you could say it's not for free, you just invest the time to get it. Which, that's not wrong. If you have a thief, by the way, there are those defeater enemies, and they have the common steal of high potions. So high potions are insanely good at this point in the game, healing 500 rather than just the usual 50. So you can just kind of stock up on those, it's pretty awesome. There's a cabin, by the way. I think those shambles are the first example of enemies, or crew dust they are called, of enemies that if you have only one crew dust remaining, he has a special script for when he's the only monster to use flash, which has a pretty high chance of blinding you at this point in the game. Once again, you don't want to get blinded, it's really strong. But you can just learn flash from here. Simply Jeff, thank you for the host, I appreciate that. And welcome everybody, I hope you're doing well. Door faces, oh yeah, those doors look like little penguins, it's true. You also, basically what you are suggesting, BGT, or how you need to look at the suggestion is, you suggest what happens if the user, you can use curly brackets in order to make the person who puts the thing into the food box a thing. Basically, what happens when they put it into the food box? Or in this case, you want to just eat the fire, I guess. And then you also need to figure out a response as to what the rabbi does when he sees you doing that. But there's a green beret, I think, over here. And I want to go and pick up. Pingu doors, yeah. Those are adorable. Get it? Let's see, I don't know whether I can equip the green beret. Green beret gives +1 strength and agility. Nope. Unfortunate. Hey Jeff, welcome. I hope you're doing well. And welcome to you as well, Doc Pirate. You're late to the raid, but are you really that late? Welcome to you, I hope you're doing well. You actually did not want to go here. This is a Thief's Glove, a really good item. Increases your, or doubles the chance of you to steal items, pretty much. But I'm not gonna steal items. Plus, you can't equip it as a Dragoon. You're doing good, just here to watch some pixelated nostalgia. Hey, that sounds nice. Would the bots recognize commands as part of the suggestion? So if you did a /ban wells, as the text the bot says, it would ban me, someone type delicious wells. I don't think so. That's actually interesting thought, whether you could have used that way. You can right dash rump if you'd like to get rumped by the food box thing. There's a boomerang type weapon on the right side. We don't need it, so I'm just gonna make straight for the boss's lair. Why did I hit that? Yeah, actually it's me who needs to approve the food commands. Oh, by the way, I was wrong. It's not the defeater that have the high potion, it's the poltergeist. Derp. Are we? Hmm. If you defeat the defeater as the last enemy in the battle, by the way, you will get an extra encounter with machine heads. Basically just mechanical devices thingies. So... I'm probably just gonna go in the back row. Let me see real quick. If I have one more strength on Ferris, I'm going to make a difference. 46 instead. And the answer is... Nope. Nope, it doesn't. It would actually have made a difference to reach the same strength threshold one level earlier. Alrighty, here we go. So this is a pretty mean boss, because it counterattacks with rather wrong means, let's put it that way. So this is Liquid Flame. It has 3 different forms. Each form has its own MP pool. And the first form is the human form. What it can use is Flame, which deals 25% of your maximum health in damage. Which, that's a lot of damage. This is the hand form. It mostly uses physical attacks. It is also actually immune to ice damage, whereas the other 2 forms are weak to ice damage. So, we have enough defense to not take any damage from this thing. Well, I think it has one move that can actually deal damage. Either way, we can heal up with potions in this phase. Because as soon as we hit it, it's going to counter with Fire 2. And Fire 2 deals like 300 damage? I actually forget how much damage it does. It does a lot of damage. Yeah, 300. So... I actually want to punch him again. Even though he is going to counter with Flame, which brings me into pretty critical HP levels, he can't just naturally use Flame as one of his attacks as well. So getting back to the Flame right here is much nicer overall. Unfortunately, get paralyzed, so we have to wait for a while. Hopefully he does not have a move. But the thing is, the Fire 2 counter is really brutal. Like, that does a load of damage. It's not actually too bad, because he can only do that 3 times. Unfortunately, he can just unlock me forever, and there's not much I can do about that. Probably. I think it's a 1 in 3 chance for him to use fingertips. Plus, we can block about 25% of the time. So we just heal up with potions. This will take a while, but better than using elixirs, which I will likely use later, or need later. And yeah, is there actually... Nowadays you can use a thing where instead of using a timeout, you just delete one message. Can you do that via command? The same level as secret causing a clear chat would be fun but also inconvenient. Yes, very much so. I forget how much maximum HP I have, by the way. Thankfully he hasn't stun locked me as much anymore. I probably have more than that. Well, we did get pretty close after Fire 2 and the Flame. So he also has a third form. He also has 3000 HP, by the way, so I need... 15 jumps? Oh my goodness. Hopefully he doesn't use Flame immediately. Rush. Now I actually have to heal before I can attack. That did just enough damage. Alright, we are fine now. We push him. I think... So here's the thing. This damage I dealt so far might not matter at all. Actually, most likely doesn't matter, because his third form is a tornado. Which... the tornado costs Fire 2 on itself. It can do so up to 6 times, and it is most efficient for me to just wait out until the tornado no longer has any magic before I attack, because chances are I'm not going to be able to hit the tornado in time in order to change its form before I can heal, so might as well just run it out of magic first. So this thing can only use Fire 2 once more, and then we are safe except for the human form in terms of taking damage. The tornado form is often also used as a bit of a break, so to speak. Since it never attacks you, it only ever casts that on you. It only ever casts Fire 2 on itself to heal. I'm really glad we have a shield now. Most tornadoes are not also feet. Well, I mean, there could be a foot in the tornado. Right? So, this is the 4th jump if I'm not mistaken. We have about 800 damage dealt, but again, it's most likely not going to... Oh! Oh, he just mistargeted, so Fire 2 didn't actually work. 5th jump, so he dealt 1000 damage. Just, wow, 1000 more, and we're done. Actually, slightly less than 1000, I think. There we go, there's a tornado form. And now, unfortunately, our job is to just wait it out. We did 6 jumps on it, or 7. Either way, it's going to nullify all the damage we did. So the HP pool is shared, but the MP pool is not. Which is mildly unfortunate, because otherwise you could just push it into the tornado form and then wait, and then never worry about a counterattack with Fire 2, but that's not how it works. So yeah, we just wait. There's always going to be a bit of a waiting period until the enemies start doing things, because we have it on the slowest battle speed. So essentially there's like a 2-second window where nothing happens, and then the time starts moving again. Alrighty, it's out of magic, now we can start counting again with HP. So this is 184. Magnet, by the way, puts you in the front row, which is kind of bad for us on the human or the hand form. Or maybe it doesn't matter. I could have attacked instead, because the jump doesn't deal any more damage. Jump number 2. Oh, it's actually out of MP already? I did not realize that. Attack number 3. Like 16 or 17 attacks, I guess. Number 4. So the tornado form, by the way, is the most convenient one to just heal up. I probably want to heal up a little bit. Also, the tornado form does have evasion. So another fun fact about the daggers, which makes them even better. If you attack an enemy that has evasion with a dagger, their evasion is halved. Meaning, even though this thing has 30% chance to dodge, against the dagger it's only 15. Attack number 5, going to be number 6 here. Number 7. At this point we don't want to see the human form ever again, really. Number 8. Because it's the only form that deals any damage to us. Flame does not use up any MP. So it makes it a bit awkward in that respect. Number 8. Oh my goodness, stop! Number 9. I hoped it would turn into the tornado form, so it's easier to heal up, but I'm just gonna take this. So we will have a maximum of 1. This is going to be number 10, so 11 can hit us, 13 can hit us again, 15 he dies. So we will have a maximum of 2 more counterattacks with Flame, and 1 more potential one if he just is fast enough to just use a Flame as a regular attack. So 350 HP should be enough for us to kill him at this point. I could go for 400 to be safe, in case he decides to use a rush attack on top of it. Rush is essentially just a regular attack, but with 50% more damage? Something like that. I don't actually know the details about that one. So, attack number 10, and by the way, that is only when he goes into his human form every other move. Which he doesn't. So number 11 is coming up. This is going to be number 12. Ouch. He could turn into human and then rush and then counterattack again here. Which would kill me. Okay, we win at this point because he's not going to get his last counterattack off before we kill him. Wait, that's not true. I said 16 attacks, not 15. So he could still do the thing there. In theory. He doesn't, so we're fine. Probably. So we need about 2 more hits after this one. Or not. Right, I thought we would. So depending on which form you kill the liquid flame in the end, you get different rewards. We just get a flame bean. Basically a ninja throwing weapon. Which, pretty good if you have a ninja. Kind of useless, and also not particularly expensive if you don't have a ninja. So it doesn't sell for much. Can you actually? You can. Huh. I didn't know. I was wondering whether you could actually go onto those little conveyor belts. So he could also drop a flame bow, which I think that's the most valuable one in terms of just raw selling value. And the last one is a fire rod. They cannot use any of the items liquid flame drops, but it doesn't matter. If Final Fantasy IV has taught you anything, you should always jump into tornadoes. Yeah, that sounds about right. You cheer for the bosses. It's not hunting, it's cheering for the thing that no one else cheers for. That's fair. No, Mr. Werewolf. Goodbye. Bonk bonk. So, in this castle escape, we want to get two things guaranteed. One is the Guardian Dagger, which allows us to deal significantly more damage. It's a dagger. But on top of all the benefits the dagger brings, it's also the strongest weapon we will be having for quite some time, since it has pretty good attack. On top of that, it has a 1 in 4 chance to block physical attacks. So essentially, it's just all around an insanely good weapon. The only downside is that you don't deal double damage with a spear. So the other thing is... a Elf Cape. I talked about it earlier. Elf Cape allows us to block 1 in 3 attacks. Physical attacks specifically. Gives us a little bit more agility, and overall it's just really good. I should go into the front row if I'm not already. Oh, this guy doesn't die from a... attack. So, there's chests. A lot of chests that are... containing... monsters in the box. And those monsters in the box... they range from rather tough to not that difficult, but it takes a while to kill them. And I really have to go into the front row. So, if you defeat their masters, the wolves tend to escape. Which is kind of a nice little benefit. Also, unfortunately, the front row doesn't last. So, most of the chests contain elixirs. There's a few that contain some other reasonably valuable items. On the left side from here, you could get a ribbon. Ribbon is the most insanely good item in this entire game. Unfortunately, can only be worn by dancers. And freelancers for that matter, because freelancer can equip literally everything. So if I say, can only be equipped by, that includes freelancers, because they can always equip everything. I should go to the other tower first, actually, thinking about it. So I could open up those chests here. Those do contain elixirs, which is nice. But I just feel like it's rather awkward to get them. Since you have to always fight at least one enemy in the process. And here, we have a monster in the box. Okay, that's good. It can either be a Gigas or a Gigas plus 3 enemies. Gigas enemies are the toughest ones, but he will always be here pretty much. Actually, there's a very slight chance that you don't get a Gigas. Either way, they counter-attack with arrow. Not always, but usually. They have about 800 HP or so. So, ooh. Ooh. Oh, that's bad. You know what? I'm gonna kill you before you kill me. Or not! I saved. So yeah, this can be a bit of a problem. Which is why I went to the right side first, because the idea is that... The idea is that I want to get the Guardian Dagger first, which allows me to deal more than 200 damage, so killing them in one less swing. I'm not going after that elixir anymore. There aren't any mimics. I mean, those enemies are pretty much mimics. But yeah, I don't like mimics. Those are mean. Dark Souls mimics are some of the worst ones. Honorable mention goes to mimics in Lufia 2, but Legend of Grimrock 2. Those mimics are just the worst. So I'm gonna jump and take out the sorcerer first, I think. Can you actually use a 10-12 time is counting down? I think so. Wow, that's just rude. I'm going to use a high potion here. So if you have a blue mage, you kind of really want to learn Arrow 2 from those guys, because it's really good. Unfortunately, if you are anything else, you really don't want to get hit by that, because it's a lot of damage. Alright, I'm out. You can run away from chest encounters in this game. That's the theory anyways. That's really unfortunate. I'm slightly too low level to reliably survive this. If you have a thief, by the way, steal from the Gigas, because the Gigas, their common steal is an elixir. So you just put one thief with a thief's glove and the fastest, well, basically the highest agility thief with a thief's glove. You steal, and then you have a second thief, or something else that has flee, and then you just flee from the encounter as your second move. And then you mash the A button a bunch, and you get like 50 elixirs in the process. Are you serious? Now that's just rude. He even arrowed me on the first turn. I did not even know you could do that. Ineffective. Maybe I can use that to my advantage. Since I'm in the back row anyways, I would just want to jump. Ineffective again. Alright. The second jump so far. We need at least 2 more in order to kill him. If I get hit by Arrow 2 again, I'm gonna use a high potion. You toted me. Oh my goodness. Told you lose most of your defense resistances. Wow, I did not even know those guys could do that. I'm confused. He's gonna hit me anyways, but still. That's just mean. So that's where I need a maiden's kiss in order to not be a frog again or anymore. No, you meanie. The worst part about this is really that if he cast frog on me a second time while I was still a frog, it would have undone the frogging as well. I could have just waited in theory, but I did not know he would cast frog again right away. Alright, worst guy done. Now for you, Mr. Sorcerer. Then the wolf is going to run away. Alrighty, goodbye, Wolfie. Now wind in the air. We finally get the Guardian Dagger. This took way too long. It's so much more damage though. It's absolutely worth it. Like, I'm not too worried about the timer running out. But the less time I spend here, the more time I have to grab elixirs from chests as well. Elixirs are always guarded by Geiger's enemies, I think. Actually, almost always. Very rarely they're not. But my priority is then getting this cape over here. The cape and the Guardian Dagger are the two items I absolutely want, no question asked. This is just too good to leave here. Monster in the box, there we go. Just a single Geiger's, that's nice. So, we deal almost 300 damage. By the way, they don't always counter with arrow. It's just a chance, but you just happen to have always get a counter until now. Don't hit me with arrow too, buddy. Thank you, I'm gonna kill you now. Bubble. No waiting. So we get the Elf Cape, 1 in 3 chance to dodge now, also significantly lighter. So we are fine. Yay. Alrighty, so we tried to get some elixirs. So this is the best encounter we can get. Just kill the sorcerer, the wolves will run away. Oh, apparently he doesn't die to a single hit. But, as you can see, 1 in 4 chance to block with the dagger. 3 times in a row. Which is 1 in 27 in 36. So we get 1 elixir. Monster in the box. And this is probably going to be the last enemy that I'm going to take on. Oh my goodness, come on. If you have a blue mage and try to get arrow too, they don't attack you with this. That's just mean. At least he didn't counterattack with arrow. That's nice. I appreciate that. I could probably get 1 more. Also we gained a level, which is actually a bad thing right now because of how the daggers work. Since I will deal a little bit less damage now at level 16 compared to level 15. The left side is a heal spell for the white mage that removes all status effects, including status effects that are normally really difficult to remove. And on the right side there is a lightning bolt scroll, I believe. Lightning bolt scroll for a ninja. We don't have a ninja yet, but it would be useful for it after. So, what I'm doing here is I'm just going to kill the sergeant. If you kill the 3 wolves, the sergeant will transform into Iron Claw, which is actually a bit of a problem for a solo character challenge run, because he can use Death Claw on you, which is, you know how Carl Boss was a bit of a meanie, sometimes using paralyzation and then putting you to critical HP and then killing you? Well, Death Claw is the first 2 combined. It paralyzes you and puts you into critical HP. So it's pretty bad. But he never transforms if you just kill him first, and the wolves will run away after. Have I ever played Dark Souls? Yes, I played through Dark Souls 1 and 2, all DLCs included, and 3 without DLCs. I played through Dark Souls 1 before I started highlighting casual playthroughs, and I played through Dark Souls 2 offline, and Dark Souls 3 is actually still highlighted somewhere, but it was a race-ish type of deal, so I was slightly hard-pressed to keep moving rather than just go at my own pace. Well, it's not up on YouTube. It should be highlighted. It might be on YouTube. At least the Dark Souls 3 one. Alrighty, and this was the Fire Crystal. As mentioned earlier, this is going to be pretty much where I end it for today, so I already say thank you very much for watching, for listening, and for lurking. Well, I hope you had a good time. Thank you very much, and maybe until next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.